Hi, it's Taylor T. Carlson and another video for you today. Today we're going to be looking at the newly reissued steelbook set of the first two Ghostbusters movies. These, of course, being two classic sci-fi comedies from the 1980s. They've been reissued countless times on just about every home video format you can imagine, and this is the latest in a long line of reissues, remasters, and so forth. If you're a fan of the movies, is this going to be the version that you should own? If you're watching this video, you're probably more curious about the reissue itself, the quality, the new bonus material, and if this is something that you should own. The films, of course, revolve around a group of paranormal researchers at a university who are forced to go into private business for themselves when they lose their research funding. And while they're struggling to get by at first, eventually they become public sensations when they're able to get rid of a ghostly menace that's haunting an esteemed hotel in the New York City area. And eventually, times go on and they have to deal with increasing obstacles like a mysterious demonic entity coming from another universe. And in the second film, they have to deal with a being from hundreds of years ago who wants to come back into the modern world and spread his share of danger. The movies definitely hold up pretty well all these years later. The first one is definitely the superior movie of the two. The sequel is competent, albeit not great, although honestly, they're both respectable films in their own rights. In the 2010s, there was a female-centric remake/reboot, but probably the less that's said about that, the better. It's not been included in this set, so it's not something we'll cover here, or probably ever for that matter. The films feature a great cast, including the likes of Sigourney Weaver, Bill Murray, the late Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd, Rick Moranis. The list goes on. It's an excellent group of actors, and they play their parts very well. Admittedly, looking back at these films, some of the effects do look a little dated, but it's not the effects that make these films great, but rather the writing and the chemistry of the actors. You've got some great comedic talent on display here, and the movies are just fun to watch, and that's part of the reason why 35 years later, the first Ghostbusters remains the favorite film of many a film fan. What you probably want to know if you're watching this review is, should I own these versions of the movie? And the simple answer is, it depends on who you are and what you want. The 4K discs that are contained within this set are the same 4K discs that were released in the individual 4K releases a few years ago in the format's infancy. Now, these transfers, they still look very good for a vintage film. You're going to have a lot of, grain spiking and everything as a result of the way these were shot and the special effects of the day. It's just what these movies are supposed to look like, and you're not going to find any differences in the transfers on here that you would in the individual 4K releases from a while back. Likewise, there are still the Blu-ray releases in here as well, but the main thing I'm sure you're curious about is the bonus disc with all the extra features. This is a combination of old features and new features alike, and they really went the extra mile to dig into the vault for these things. I mean, if you thought you'd seen all the deleted scenes that these movies have to offer, you're definitely going to be surprised when you see this release. They're in varying states of condition depending on how they were preserved, what they consist of, and so forth, but in addition to those, there's all kinds of other retro materials, including an entire episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show where she interviews the cast around the time the second movie came out. And I'm not going to go through and list each and every single feature, but suffice to say, it's a great set for anyone who's a fan. Basically, whether you should buy this set or not boils down to, do you already have the earlier 4K releases? Do you want to shell out the extra money for new bonus features? And if so, this is absolutely the set to own, but I also understand that people might not want to make the double dip so soon after getting 4K versions of these movies already. Put simply, if you do want the Ghostbusters movies and you don't already own them, this is definitely the package to get. If you've already bought the movies before on 4K, it really comes down to, do you want to pay again to get all these extra bonus features? They're great and they're definitely worth the price of admission, but if you're just interested in the movies and not any bonus material, again, they're the same 4K transfers you got on the individual discs. If you found this video to be helpful, please hit the like button below, subscribe to my channel. This has been Taylor T. Carlson, and I will see you on my next video.